Okay, recording. So back around Thanksgiving, I was supposed to leave on a trip with my lovely wife. I go visit family, and instead found myself fixing a bunch of leaks, and they were all having to do with the flexible pipe that isn't technically PEX pipe. It's the flexible pipe with the braided fibers in it, which is used anytime there's a screw-on fitting by Winnebago. Not necessarily without reason. However, I found 4 places where those were leaking and documented most of the repair. There's some missing video in places, but you get the idea of how to do this type of repair and why, and some good video of it actually leaking, so you can see what it is I'm talking about. In this case, some of these were the first time that I had actually even seen that particular fitting. In other cases, it's stuff I had worked on before, and possibly in the process of working on the adjacent connection somewhere else, put some stress on that joint and aided it leaking. However, the fact that I got so many leaks in basically the same time period, 2 days, that was pretty impressive. It was Thanksgiving. I fixed the toilet leak, and the next morning, after the pump was still running and I was concerned that we still had some kind of leak somewhere, and found water running out of the tail. I found 2 more leaks in the back after finding and fixing the one at the pump. So here we go. Okay, well, today I am in the bathroom again. Not because I haven't quite finished putting everything back together on the kitchen faucet, the bathroom faucet, which I haven't. I'm almost there. But I was about to start work on that, and I'm hearing a drip. And that's never a good thing, especially as I've been wondering why the pump has occasionally been kicking in. It does a little burp every now and then. And I'm like, oh, I know there's a problem somewhere. I'm going to find it eventually. And today, I found it. I have the toilet leak. The infamous water with the connection here behind the toilet, presumably the one dripping. So what we're going to do today is disconnect the water feed to the toilet, which I think looks like just this fitting right here. Oh, is it I would have to look at that. Oh yeah, it's a oh no, here it is. This one, this screws. All right, so I'm going to loosen this, and then I'm going to actually pull the toilet out. There it goes. Oh, hang on. I probably should turn the water off first. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, there we go. Phone got wet and thought I was pushing other buttons. So we're going to open this up. And it's not a problem for all this water to drain out here because, we are in a wet bath. All right, that is out of the way so we can see what we're doing. That is off. It's pressing up against the toilet, but it's unscrewed. So when I unbolt the toilet, just so I have access and I can see what I'm doing, take these bolts out here on either side. Oh, there it is. All right. So we'll take those off, pull up the toilet, and have a look-see. Okay, I've got it unscrewed. It's two of these little white caps with two nuts, one set on each side, and that should just pull right up. And sure enough, it does. Oh shoot! You know, I probably should have dumped out the contents first. And that smells a little bit, as one would expect. Fortunately, I have recently emptied out the, so that shouldn't be a problem. So, a nice big ring here, little rubber ring that sits in there. It provides a seal to the bottom here. So, that makes access here a whole lot easier. Huh. It sure looked like somebody was trying to fix this once before. Yeah, that's a whole lot of no good. Alright, so what I need to do is open up this little cover, pull out enough pipe here that I can redo the fittings, and redo the fittings. And then that should be the end of my problem. In the meantime, I've got a little bit of a smelly situation. It could probably be alleviated by putting a cover over the hole, but this doesn't look like it's going to be that difficult of a repair. And it looks like somebody already tried to patch it once previously. So we'll get that fixed up. Okay, so let me turn off that fan. I was able to take the screws with caps off the sides, just little white screws with caps, off of either side of this ring with a slot through it, which helps to seal water from going back through this hole. And pulled out the little bit of hose that's here, and it's the same type of reinforced, not PEX, but reinforced hose that's more flexible, that is adjacent to the main water pump on either side, so as to take the vibration. So, I mean, that's probably not a bad idea to have that kind of a connection, but I mean, that one is rotating. I mean, that rotates too. I mean, that's one of the things about these connections, is they're not so what I'm going to do real simply is cut off the original crimp connection here, and I need a vice grip that so I don't lose it into the wall, and then put a fresh elbow in. I don't believe I don't happen to have one of these fittings. No, I have the other end. I have a male fitting. I don't have the female connection in stock. But and of course, today being Turkey Day, I'm not going to be able to go to the store and get one either. So basically, I'm just going to redo this with fresh plumbing between this pipe and here, and hopefully that takes care of our leaking problem. Clearly there was a leak here before with somebody trying to gunk the heck out of it slightly inaccurately with caulk. So we'll get to go dig out my PEX tools and we'll get started. Alright, I've grabbed the pipe tools. I'm going to start with clamping that hose incoming, where I can make sure to be able to work with it and not lose it back into the wall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the original shiny metal crimp PEX connection. Kind of hard to see this. So it's just a metal ring. Again, hard to tell on this, hard to see on this one because it's been well glued up with caulk. But it's got the crimp part. When they install this, they put the larger uncrimped ring around the connection. Then they use a tool, not too dissimilar to this except it doesn't cut, to crimp that loop closed so that the ring becomes a specific circumference around the pipe, squeezing it onto the fitting. So this is usually a challenge to get them out of the, there we go. So there's the standard PEX. Focus. There we go. Standard PEX fitting has 3 little bumpies here that the ring around it presses the hose or pipe or PEX pipe around those and keeps it mechanically secured as well as hopefully not leaking. In this case, that didn't work so well. This one you can see really easily because it's not all gunked up how that worked. They just had it and they crimped down tighter. It starts out being a whole lot, bigger round, and then all I do is use this tool to break that connection, and then it comes right off. For the sake of anybody wondering what this big huge cutters is, this actually is from work I do with guitars. This is the cutter for the frets on a guitar. You put the frets, hammer the frets in, and then cut the ends off with that. And it's such a big tool because they're so hard to cut. This is an old one, and now I'm using it for this kind of work because it works really well. So basically, I'm cutting down on it slightly, but I'm more bending it out of position than anything. Occasionally, I've been able to manage to cut right through them. A lot of other people who need to remove these kinds of things, they'll just use a Dremel with a cutoff wheel. And there we go. And if you can get this outer part to come loose, get people chattering about Thanksgiving. You get that outer ring to come loose, then you can peel. Don't want to lose that down the hole. You can peel the rest of it off relatively easily. There, pry that open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse this connection because I don't happen to have a brass version of it, but I'm going to go ahead and put a new piece of brass in on this, and just for the fun of it I'm going to go ahead and use a fresh piece of PEX as well, in the hopes of limiting the possibility of any leakage. I've had also, because I tend to end up eating the cutting into the pipe in order to try to get it off. These are, even though I've got the ring off, I still can't get usually this to pull out very easily. It'll spin, even with the clamp on, it would spin, but getting it pull off is sometimes difficult. So a lot of times what I end up doing is cutting into the pipe with this tool in order to get it loose. And try not to nick the plastic underneath, and instead just cut the PEX material. And yeah, there, got it. And okay, so now I have this hose, and I'll put an elbow there and a straight piece and crimp this all up, and I'm going to use the copper rings crimp tool. You see that in a minute. And we're finishing off a little bit of cleanup here before putting the cover ring here back in place, and then toilet back in place. This shouldn't go very much longer, and we'll have this done. That's pretty good. And then I've cleaned up the ring already, and put that over like that. And I'm going to cover the back of it with my adhesive sealant caulk material. Even though it's got some screws to hold it in place, this will just get some on there. And then give it a good smearing around. And then get the screw started. There's the other one. Nope, I'm not in. There it goes. It should be nice and stable. And I'll put the ever-present screw cover caps on, snap caps. And that's that. I don't know that I really want to put a bunch of gunk over the top of that or not yet. I can always add it later. I can always come in and behind the toilet and add some later if I think it's going to be a problem. Actually, if you're showering and you're spraying it this way, it is going to try to hit there. So maybe I do want to create a bit of a shelf, if you will, over the top of that. And maybe that's what they were originally trying to do, and it just leaked, and that was the original. It wasn't a redo, it was a, I don't know. Having bought a used model, I don't know exactly what's been repaired or not before. There, that should do fine. Alright, so we get cleaned up here and put the toilet in. Yay. So after getting the toilet back in place, next day I found another leak. Had water running out of the tail. Wasn't really sure it was the pump, but that was the first place I started and was able to tell for certain that there was leaking from the original connector between the flexible connection and the PEX fitting screwing onto the pump. And this is me turning on the pump, finding and then fixing that problem. Alright, I'm going to turn on the pump and we'll see what happens. Well, that's pretty conclusive. I mean, look at that. It's just seeping out, and that's the original connection. I sure hope this is the last of my leaks. Dang it. Alright, pump off. Okay, so same thing with the toilet. The plastic fitting into the flexible hose appears to be leaking. So it's time to pull that connection off and replace it, and I'm going to actually replace the plastic part with brass fitting at the same time, and hopefully this will be the end of my leaking problems, because this is getting old. There we go, that works. I'll take this open. Get this fitting off. Go down to the hardware store and get something to swap in place of it. It's going to be, I was thinking it might be tricky to get the tool in there to crimp it, but I think I can do it. Oh, yeah. I think that's going to be easier. Maybe. Oh, so much easier. Well, that just pulled right off. Huh. Alright, well, I've been doing it the hard way so far. There you go. And come here, you. Get out there. Alright. And now off to the hardware store. Alright, back from the hardware store with the replacement part, which is brass. And now we're going to put it on. Put the first. It's tough. And that is completely soaked. Bathroom. Alright. Apparently the water tank is leaking through the pump with the pump power off. Just plain old gravity. Trouble, as is common, getting the copper ring to go over the reinforced flexible stuff here. There it goes. A little more. I'll probably do that. Okay. Actually, I want to get a little further away so I can, a little further away from the end, so I can actually get the tool on there. Now that'll clear. That's fine. Be a pain to do anyway. Come on. There it goes. Okay. I could push it a little bit more though. Let's see if I can get it to go. There. Maybe. No, I think that'll have to do. All right. Time to bring in the crimping tool. Check it. Crooked, baby. Passes with the check tool, should be fine. Yeah. Alright. Screw it on. Oh, that won't twist. Oh, didn't get it. Alright, I think that's on and tight. A little bit of a kink in the cable, but show what I'm talking about. Turn on the water and see if it doesn't all spray all over the place again. Alright, well, that isn't leaking. Yeah, but how many more of these connections am I going to have to fix? Okay, so I was going to take off on a trip today, but I've got water dripping out and water running down the floor here. And so what I will be doing instead is taking the back panel off to get at it, because I fully suspect it's that last of the fittings that are plastic on the flexible hose. Yeah, that's leaking all right. That's leaking a good clip too. Okay, so I'm cutting access to the spot that's leaking. See if I can get that visible here. And there you can see it. You can see it dripping. So, that's got to get replaced. And this is just regular PEX. Actually, it's probably this fitting up here that's actually the one leaking, which is the flex tube stuff from the toilet. And maybe you can see it. Kind of hard to get with the bright sun. There. So you can see that that's that flexible pipe. And that's probably what was leaking. But we're just going to replace the whole thing because how else are you going to do it? Alright, well, shoot. Here we go. Alright. see what I'm doing or not. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so we got this T-fitting here that was leaking, along with this section that goes all the way down to the hose for the rear snap plug-in hose. And I'm going to rebuild this, but in the meantime I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put the shark bite copper fittings on with the brass connections here. And we still got a little bit of water coming down the pipe because of gravity down the tank. This is the shark bite tool. This is the crimper that squishes the rings down, and they use this instead of the crimp ring, the pinch ring, or whatever you want to call it. And this is super easy to do. You just make sure your ring is in the right spot, and then crimp it. Squeeze down on it. I always give it a couple extra crimps from slightly different angles just to make sure. Now that's something they're pretty good. And it comes with a tester. I left that inside, but I haven't had one fail yet, so I'm confident in these connections. I'll plug this in here. Come on. That should do it. And then the same thing. So far, when I've redone these, the flex pipe, the connection, when I've redone the connection here on this reinforced flexible pipe that they like to use anytime there's a screw-on connector. So either side of the pump, or going to the toilet, which had a screw-on connector. Anytime there's a screw-on connector, there's one of these flex pipes, and every last one of these has leaked on me. So yeah, I really think that's a problem. And crimp. A little hard to get a different angle on this one. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Helps if I don't cover up the... So that's pretty solid. I don't think that's going to leak anymore. Now I just got to rebuild this section going down to the spigot on the back. And I'm going to show you how I get these crimp rings off of the connection, because I want to reuse the flex pipe. I'm not having any trouble once I put the copper rings on it, but the silver rings with the plastic fittings and this hose seem to be a problem. So what I do is I use this tool. This is actually it's a big cutters. It's a big nipper for guitar frets. It's a fret cutter for guitars. It's an old one that's been filed down and abused, and then I just get it underneath the metal part here, pry that up off of the connections, and then pull, and it's off, just like that. I'm going to do it one more time. And this one, same thing. Find where the where these little catches are that hold it shut. Come up under the end of it. Pry that up so that it's not caught, it's loose, and then just grip it and pull it off. Just like that. Of course, first few times I tried to do this, it did not go that easy. But there you have it. Now I just pull this apart. Sort of. Alright, we get the idea. Okay, and I've now crimped an elbow and a fresh brass connector, brass elbow, using the original flex pipe. I don't think the flex pipe is the problem. I think the combination of the silver pinch crimping connectors and the plastic fittings somehow is a problem that it develops a leak over time. And I just managed to have 4 leak points in the course of 24 hours that I'm fixing. So there you have it. Alright, so now I'm going to fit this back in and crimp that on and button this up. And I'm going to declare success. After replacing all the fittings, they appear to be nice and dry. Not getting any more leaking water. And while I'm at it, I've gone ahead and put some foam around the pipes. I already sent a piece of foam down the pipe coming along the side wall from the underneath the bathroom sink, and I did it all the way down to the output spigot as well. I've got a big ugly hole that I'm short term just going to ignore. Longer term, I'll probably put some kind of patch over, and even longer than that, the plan is actually to completely gut this back wall and turn it into a big storage toolbox, along with a fold down work bench table thing. Anyway, that's the plan. So a little bit of reassembly here, some vacuuming, and I think I'm finally leak proof and I can get on with my trip. Yay! By way of proof that you can fix anything with duct tape, especially if you have the right color, I have the pieces that I sawed out and some nice, oh shoot, got rid of it. Fix anything with duct tape except duct tape itself. Let's try that again. Almost tore it right that time. And there you go. There. And if I have to get into it, again, it's not hard. And there you have it. Duct tape to the rescue.